You're very welcome along to the Zoom room. It's Johnny Ward sitting in for Luke Tarr, and what a weekend of racing we have at Newmarket. Bill Esdaile is in the house, as well as Silvestre De Sousa, who's going to go through 5 of his rides on a fantastic Cesarewitch / Dewhurst card with lots of Irish raiders, despite the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Now, I should start, Silvestre, just very briefly. What did you make of the Arc last weekend? We all got it wrong. Couldn't see Stradivarius out of the frame, but they went too slow.
Well, was very disappointing, from the English runners, and I think it was a very tactical race, and I don't think there was a gallop in the race. I think the race went too slow and beneficial. The horse was just hit on the pace, a bit close to the leader.
And the mad thing is, Bill, you get this notion in your head, you're watching the race beforehand, and it really looks like Navan in Troytown Day type ground. It's that testing, but you don't necessarily factor in the fact that they might go a 2.5 mile gallop in the Arc, and it turns into something of a sprint.
Well, we really missed the 4 O'Brien runners. That was the problem.
Yeah.
I think if they'd run, they would have set the pace up, and it was just, they went that muddling pace. I mean, we all had a strong word for Stradivarius. I fancied him. I thought In Swoop would run well. He did run well. I felt he would have probably won with a stronger pace, but there was something unsatisfactory about it. And that's not just because Enable folded. It was just to do with the conditions and the field size and the pace. There were some good horses beating him behind. In Swoop, I thought Rabia ran well as well. It's just, but it is what it is. It's racing, and that's what happens, and you move on.
It also feels a little bit underwhelming because there's nobody at the race, and that'll be sadly the case again this weekend at Newmarket. But we've a fantastic card. Going to go straight into the Cesarewitch 335 still. You're not quite on the top weight here, but you're on the second top weight, Cleont, and you're talking about probably a big enough price in terms of giving way to all these runners in what's going to be a pretty stamina sapping 2 miles too, given the ground is going to be softer thereabouts Newmarket.
Yeah, so it proper, that would be a proper test of stamina for the horses, on the soft ground and over that distance. And I know one thing, my horse stays well, but he's just second top weight horse in the race, and he's a tough with that kind of weight, but he stays well, and I just hope they could go all too fast and things could fall in for him. But he's a very tough handicap, he's one of the toughest handicap for the year, because we had all the big handicap stayers already, so this will be one of the last ones to me.
You go back to the Queen Alexandra when he beat Palisader, obviously. That's going back to last year, it was his most recent victory. But when you go into a race, he stays further than this. Are you do you play this race as it happens in the race and say, I want to make use of his stamina, but also I'm hoping that maybe up front they just kind of go a bit fast and I can ride my race to finish?
Well, you have to be aware with the pace, and especially with that many runners. And we play a handicap, it's not like level terms, a group race or a maiden. So you have to be aware and have to be aware who you fall and who's going to fall in back. But, with a horse, he stays well. You could never ride him for turn of foot, Yeah. You have to use the horse and let him length and let him enjoy the race as what you do and keep him out the trouble,
And Bill, this is going to be, I expect something like maybe soft ground, and we're a few races into the card at this stage as well. This is going to take plenty of getting. Are you a fan of Not So Sleepy, or what do you like in the card?
Yeah, I mean it's wide open as you'd expect. It is going to be a slog. You need a proper stayer. The one that's kind of been on my eye and every punter's eye has been Great White Shark. Willie Mullins' mare. She'll probably be favourite. She's been well supported all week. Ran in the race last year. Got very upset in the prelims. That's the only worry with her, is whether she can keep a lid on it. But with no crowd, that probably helps. She just looks off a fair mark. Jason Watson, a good booking. But, when she was 14-1 at the beginning of the week, she looked like a great bet. When she's kind of 7-1, maybe even shorter nearer the race, she becomes less attractive. She's the main one for me. She would be the most obvious, but there is the risk warning attached with her temperament and her behaviour. I mean, she chucked her jockey off on the way down to the start last year, so that is a worry.
You got to like a horse trained by Willie Mullins coming into a race like this, who won over nearly 3 miles the last day in a good hurdle race. Just ticks the boxes, I guess.
100%, and one dart for Willie Mullins. Not 4 darts, just 1 dart. So she's a real player. She has to top the list. The only other one I like at a big price to keep an eye on is All Right Sunshine. number 3 on the card, around a 20-1 shot. Jamie Spencer, a kind of eye-catching jockey booking for Keith Dalgleish. You know, I had a long look at the race last night, and this is a horse that seems all his best runs are over the extended trips, and he's been running over 1.6 miles, and I really want to see him over this 2 mile 2, bit of cut in the ground.
Well, you look at his bumper form and the way he travelled in his bumpers. I remember looking at this horse early days for Casamento as a stallion, and I was thinking, will this horse get home in bumpers? He absolutely gets home. It travels really well in these races as well.
Yeah, well, he won at Ayr this time last year and tanked all over the Glasgow Warrior, and won on the. Admittedly, that was off a much lower mark of 97 or whatever, but he's 4 pounds higher or whatever he is now. Been given a bit of a chance. Got into a bit of a tangle with Silver Ascot behind Fujiara Prince, and then ran okay in the E-ball, but just seemed to be staying on towards the end. I think he's worth a crack at the trip and might not be off a bad mark. So those two for me, I'd be Great White Shark and All Right Sunshine.
Is there a more beautiful sight still than Jamie Spencer coming there on the bridle without moving a muscle?
It will be a tip to Jamie Spencer, is it? I know until he'll have plenty of patience to ride in this race anyway. But if he sleep on, he might not catch the lead horses, you know.
Read into that what you will. It's onto the Flying Start Zetland Stakes now. This is an absolute cracker. You're riding a horse here, Lone Eagle, who was by Galileo. He won a nursery last time pretty readily, I thought, beat a hot favourite, and you know, stepping into maybe softer ground here, but obviously he's going to stay well out of a Duke of Marmalade mare. Fascinating race, this, the 145.
Yes, absolutely. And he digging very deep that day, you know, and he battled well, and, you know, he stays well. And he's a big ask, and here is a big, before that horse won, Rafe Beckett's horse, Fabulous, was a big talk in the way around. That's, you know, was the golden horse for Rafe Beckett. He's a big ask, you know, but I'll give him a HOA chance.
This was a $500,000 yearling bred by Ballylynch, Bill, and is more than lived up to his billing so far, even though he's only rated 90, the best surely to come from this horse.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Lone Eagle. I think he's got a great chance for Silv. He was well on top at the finish last time. No real ground worries. You know, this is going to be a test for a 2-year-old. Mile and a quarter on this ground. It's going to be real hard work. Like Silv says, Fabulous, the top one, brings a bit of class, but there's a question mark on the ground. Was he beaten by the ground first time up, or was he beaten by his inexperience? We'll find out whether the ground's a player with him. Ballydoyle send over Kyprios.
It's an interesting one because this horse is having just had the one run 32 days ago, won a maiden at Galway, and in fairness did look a very nice prospect and out of polished gem, beautiful pedigree as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a race they kind of target, and he's bound to be pretty good, and we know he'll handle the ground. It just looks a bit of a minefield. Andrew Balding's horse is in good form and is consistent. It's really tough, but I think Silv might be on the one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Silv's horse as well. Note that Kew Gardens won this race. I think if you're looking for maybe ledger betting for next year, maybe have a look at this race prior to it, because obviously any horse who they think will stay a mile and two as a 2-year-old is likely to stay the ledger trip. We're now on the 255. Still has another ride in this race, and that is a cracking renewal of the Dewhurst. I'm going to just start by mentioning at the bottom we have Thunder Moon, Wembley and St. Mark's Basilica, all of whom clashed in the national stakes, but they're taking on a very strong home selection as well. Chimbit is probably going to be favourite or thereabouts, but still you have a fascinating ride in the race as well, and a horse by Frankel who certainly isn't out of it in terms of probably does have to obviously reverse form with Marcus Tregoning's Alchemade from the last day, but there wasn't a lot in it.
No, it wasn't a lot in it. I think I got beat by an experience, you know, and I really like my horse. I know he had 3 goals already. He ran really good first time out. He thought would he win the race. He got napped, you know. He got beat like, you know, probably a length and a half or 2, and he went out and he put a good debut at Newcastle, but I don't think it was a strong field. And he went to a Group 2, and you know, he finished a good second. But I think my horse will grown up from the run, and I look for improvement, you know.
Two issues here. So he was scratched because of soft ground after his debut run, and he was a bit keen the last day, and he's stepping up in trip. Is either a concern?
Not at all. Not at all.
Wow, there you go, Bill.
Yeah, it's what a great. You said a great renewal. I mean, they talk about like the Pressbury Cup at Cheltenham. This is the kind of 2-year-old Pressbury Cup of
absolutely
of the flat season, because you got 3 or 4 really good Irish horses. You know, the Thunder Moons and Cadillac and Wembley and St. Mark's Basilica. coming over to take the best of the English lot on. I think it's the best 2-year-old of the season, race of the season, bar none.
Without a shadow of it. What do you make of Chimbit?
I think he's a really good horse, and he's got the draw potentially. We won't know whether that's a good draw until the day, but 13 looks, if you ask me where you want to be drawn, it'd be nearer the rail rather than being drawn out in the middle of the track. He's very, very good. It comes down to ground. He looks like he's all about speed. For lots of these horses, they wouldn't have encountered ground like this. Alchemate that Silv mentioned looked really classy. They supplemented him for the race, but there's a stamina question mark there. 7 furlongs. He might come there traveling like the winner. Will he get
showcasing horse as well?
Yeah, will he get home in the ground? I worry about it. Cadillac's only really disappointing run was when there was plenty of juice in the ground, so it depends on how bad the ground gets in. My most likely theory is that the class will rise to the top. I think it'll, if you ask me what, I think it'll be between Chimbit and Thunder Moon. And at the prices, I'd probably lean more towards Thunder Moon on the basis that he's no longer a clear favourite. And I think he looked brilliant the last day. I haven't seen many 2-year-olds be able to win a race of that quality from the uncompromising position he was in. I thought that was a really good performance.
I couldn't agree. There's almost like a little bit of snobbery against Joseph O'Brien here, I think, because if Aidan O'Brien trained this horse, I can't see that he'd be the same price as he is now. And that run in the national stakes, I backed him that day. And, you're just looking at, you're thinking for a furlong and a half, this is going to be another unlucky loser. He ends up winning by a length and a half. He didn't only win, he absolutely. And the only problem here is that after the race, and I quote Declan McDonough, fast ground will suit him well. Now, on pedigree, he's every chance of handling soft ground. And Joseph O'Brien is going over there, presumably fairly confident he'll handle it. If he doesn't, that would bring St. Mark's Basilica into it in terms of, I think the ground will be no problem to him and he'll have plenty of stamina. But Thunder Moon, I'd strongly advise looking at him for the Guineas next year. I think that was an extraordinary performance on only his second start. Yeah, and
the point was that him and kind of Lucky Vega, I think, were both going for the same gap and blew him out the water. And he's since come out and run well, so you know the form has substance. He just looks very good. I've always been a fan of Chimbit, but it's a race to look forward to.
But you don't seem that unhappy with your prospects here, still, regardless of the opposition.
No, my horse has got plenty toe, and he probably in this race he'll travel very handy. If they move across the stand side, like they will do it, and I just track the leaders. It's hard when a horse have to drop out and come with a run and have to go around, But, Tindy looks like a hot tin. But Max Dragonis' horse looks very good when he beat me at Newbury. But I think my horse will improve. So, no, I'm happy with the ride. And, I think I'll give them a shake-up.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing just to mention here is that when you get all these big names lining up, bubbles have to burst.
Yeah.
And there's some massive reputations here. And what often happens is that something appears from left field that people think this can't win. And on the day when you look at the prices, there's good horses in here that could surprise. Tactical, Andrew Balding's horse, Royal Ascot winner, completely forgotten horse, massive price. Another one I'll just throw in there, one of the rank outsiders is Poetic Flair, Jim Bolger, Kevin Manning. We haven't seen it since the beginning of the season. But
he won 3 in a row, didn't he?
Yeah, drawn 14 right against the rail in the kind of new approach, dawn approach passage. These things happen, and that's what makes the race so exciting, is that we know what we have with Thunder Moon, we know what we have with Chimbit, we know what we have with Cadillac. There's some dark horses that come here, Etonian of Richard Hannon's. They're all unbeaten. There's reputations there. I can't wait for the race.
Yeah, and to embellish that point as well, the ground at this stage just makes it a completely different kettle of fish for anyone studying the race, and probably a little bit less straightforward than it would be. Don't forget to check out the website, not only for Sale's blog, but if you do get beaten by a neck or less, pipped at the post in the big races, obviously we'll give you your stake back for up to 100 quid. That might be the case in Odyssey's Girl in the 415, which is Sale's mount, is basically probably one of the horses that might have a small bit to do in this company. Riding for Richard Spencer, a good operator here, Sil.
Yeah, that's really been very consistent. Richard's doing very well. And I think it's a tough race. But, if she bouncing back in her form, she's been running, she should be competitive.
Yeah, and probably going to be a price bill when you look at the likes of Mill Isle in the race, and obviously breathtaking look as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'd love to see Richard Spencer have a high-profile winner, but there's at least 10 or 12 pounds to be found from somewhere to take a hand in this. It's a tall ask, and like you say, I think the place to concentrate is the top. If Millar bounce, but Millar's rated higher than anything in the race. If she can bounce back, massive player, breathtaking look. Another, I think the top two are the two to concentrate on. It doesn't look that competitive a race. I think these two are well and above the rest of them, and I think they'll finish 1-2 would be my view.
Yeah, and if you go back to this time last year, 20th September, 6 furlongs at Newmarket, Millar obviously advertised her claims as something of a guinea horse when winning well over 6 furlongs after not travelling. She's an interesting horse because often looks like she's in big trouble, but she does find plenty for pressure. Finally, I think I may be wrong here, Sil. I think Marie's Diamond sums up kind of why I don't really like backing Mark Johnson horses. Just I don't know what it is the way he trains them. He trains them very like maybe to a degree that they kind of get quite hardy. But I find them quite unpredictable. This horse on his day could win this race, go out in front. You know, he's had I think this is his 27th run already. You can tell me though, how is he going to run in the nightcap?
Well, he was very consistent and he's lost his way a bit, but he hasn't stopped running. And I just hope he can find his form back. And he won very well for me this year when he won his first race, and he has run well in the group 3 at Ascot. And you know, when you see he finished third in a group 1, you know, so he should have picked them up and you know and fight for his money, you know, in this race.
How about the ground?
I wouldn't worry about the ground. I would not worry about the draw because it's a horse. He got his speed. You could ride him very handy, or you know, just sit behind the leaders. And I just hope he can bounce him back, you know. And you know, he's in the mix with them, all them horses. Like you know, he's not out the picture. It's just about if you're gonna bounce into his best, you know.
I suppose the obvious starting point here, Bill, is probably highest ground, who was obviously fairly hot favourite in the Dante. Juan Elcano was behind him on that occasion. I think I just started off with Star Sports when this race was on, and I remember there was a big cheer in the Star Sports trading room because they laid highest ground till the proverbial cows came home in the Dante, and he was beaten, but he's been given time to recover from that.
Yeah, given time to recover, classic kind of Michael Stout style. Got stuck in the mud a bit in the Dante, just the 1 mile turn a bit kind of stretched him a bit. So this drop-in trip will help. He'll still have the ground issue though. It'll be quite chewed up ground by this time. It'll be hard work. I think he's probably the most likely winner, but I like another horse, another 3-year-old on the comeback trail here, Kenzai Warrior for Roger Teal. This is a horse that ran well in the Guineas and then disappointed a bit at Ascot, but has been given a bit of time. Roger's proved what a good trainer he is. We know he goes well at Newmarket. We know he handles bad ground, and I just think this horse, this slight drop in trip will help him. And if he's a decent price, he would definitely be the one that I would be drawn to in the last.
It's a fascinating race, you say, and not only 3-year-olds against elder horses, but the fillies coming in as well. Lady Wannabe, who won at Listowel in a listed race last time, would actually have a bit to do. But the fact that Fozzie Stack brings her over to this race, I think, is very, very interesting. Jamie Spencer rides, who rode his first classic winner, I think, back in 1998 for Fozzie Stack's dad, Tommy Stack. And I actually saw that very filly had a horse running the other day, Bill, a 2 or a 3-year-old. I can't quite remember the name of the horse. It was anyways, Jamie's first classic ride. But it's mad you see this mare who won a classic in the late 90s, and she had a horse running the other day who's only 2 or 3. The cycle continues.
It's you're showing your age, Johnny. You're getting older. That's the problem. That's what happens. You start seeing grandchildren run. That's when it gets really scary.
You're making me quite depressed now. Let's get the naps of the day from Bill and Sil. Starting with you, Bill.
My nap of the day would be.
You have to have a bit of a think about it.
No, do you know what? I'd probably go give All Right Sunshine at a big price, 20-1. I think I've just got a feeling he's going to run really well in the Cesarewitch.
Silvestre De Sousa.
And I think I go for the last race. It's a horse I forgot to mention about. Pallavicino from Brian Meehan. Martin Dwyer rides, and he won nicely in Chester for me, and I rolled in the race. He rode like a good race, and I think we'll be all forget about that horse, you know. I think he could be a big player in the last race with a big prize.
Is that a sign, Bill, that he's nap of the day? He's not even riding the horse.
No, it makes me smile that we've had a long look at that race and it's never been mentioned. But it's an interesting one. The only worry with him would be the ground seal potentially, but you know, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that could be the big question. But you know, he won 3 in the weather. And he has one disappointment. And he came to Chester. The ground was a bit messy that day. It wasn't described like it was in the paper, and he still won. But you just go for a big prize, and I would pick him.
Yeah, and he's and Brian Meehan's horses are in good nick. And fun enough, one of the races we didn't cover was the Autumn Stakes, the 220 race that you're not riding in, and Meehan runs that Akmam, who is seriously impressive at Ascot. So it's interesting to see him back on the big stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so just the 5 rides that we mentioned there: Lone Eagle in the 145 for 1,000 to 1, the 255 Cleonte in the 335, Odyssey Girl the 415, Marie's Diamond in the 450. My nap is Thunder Moon. Slight proviso about the ground, but why is he sending the horse over there if you don't reckon he'll handle it? Thanks a million, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bill.
Have a great week, lads, and have a great few mounts on Saturday. Bill and Sil will now get on with their daily chores. Luke Tarr, who's I think on some fatherly duties today, will presumably be back from the hot seat next week. But don't forget to check out the website for Sil's blog and all our special offers on Star Sports. And thanks for watching.